Ms. Gasser. Members of Council, I think after the delegations we'll be breaking for lunch, just so you know. Go ahead, Ms. Gasser.
Good morning, Chair Anderson, ladies and gentlemen. Just one small correction in terms of what Wendy said about advertising of meetings for the two committees. The EFW AC meetings are not publicly advertised. In fact, we don't even know when our next meeting will be held. I hope you had an opportunity to review the draft Community Communications Plan as well as the delegation I made at Works Committee 2 weeks ago, because I'm not going to repeat those particular points. Along with the text of EA Condition 7, all of this should be in your agenda packages. And I've only got 5 minutes, so I can't possibly touch on everything, so please ask me some questions. Section 7.2 of the Environmental Assessment Approval sets out what MOE requires the communications plan to address. And it also says that this only needs to be submitted to the MOE prior to the receipt of waste at the incinerator. So you have plenty of time before this plan has to be developed. You might have as long as a year. And as Councillor Jordan suggested at Works, it would be a good idea to consult with stakeholders, and that those stakeholders include the school boards in Durham. As Wendy said, that the Durham staff, project team staff, initially wanted feedback from the EFW AC, that's the committee that I sit on with Wendy, by November 9th. But given the large number of monitoring plans we had on our agendas, and given that there is at least a year before this needs to be done, I suggested that staff should advertise the plan and at least allow the EFW AC comment by the end of November. Condition 7 of EA approval states that the communications plan should set out how, when, and what the project team would communicate to the public and where information would be found. Nowhere in Condition 7 does it state that the document should in any way promote the incinerator, but that is what I believe this document has morphed into. Staff in Covanta have plenty of other opportunities to promote incineration and their view of the world, and they do. Covanta will develop their own communications plan, and this is stated on page 21 of this community communications plan, and should not be co-opting more public resources to use for what is essentially PR. And staff are circulating around with a presentation called The Road to EFW, and telling this story to other communities. And I've included a link to their a presentation they made in June of this year. A recent Oshawa Express article quotes Chair Anderson as saying that the region is in the business of promoting industry, and since the majority of council supported the incinerator, that is what you should be promoting. Chair Anderson is not elected, and he can pretty much do what he wants, but councillors as elected representatives should have protecting the public interest as their highest priority. Publicly funded communications plans, such as this plan should transmit factually accurate information to the public in a timely, accessible, and balanced manner. I am very concerned how information about Durham Region's waste plans and the incinerator in particular would be communicated to kids especially. Children are impressionable, they're trusting, and they may not have fully developed the critical thinking skills needed to sort through conflicting and complex information. Providing balanced information around incineration should always include the fact that total emissions, which would include any exceedances during startup, shutdown, process upset, or malfunctions, will not be reported to the public. I urge you to direct staff to advertise the community communications plan and to extend the public input deadline to the end of March or April, just as one example. Please direct staff to consult specifically with school boards on this plan and on the content of any of their staff presentations to ensure that information is presented in a factual and balanced manner. Please ensure that any references to the 4 Rs are struck from this communication plan and any school presentations, as this is not Ontario waste policy. It is industry propaganda used to justify the burning of garbage while recovering minuscule amounts of dirty energy at great cost and using a highly polluting process. And thanks again to the regional councillors who supported that CLOCA motion. Thank you.
Questions to Ms. Gasser?